Well, good evening, everybody. This is Yulia Houston. I am in my office as always, and welcome to our webinar. I have with me my two helpers, as always. I have Gloria and Jiyun, who's going to help me deliver our webinar. This is our last webinar of the year. It's called Advanced Placement Exams, to take or not to take. The webinar is going to be pretty short because this is a very straightforward webinar. Not much thinking goes in. And then clearly, as always, we will have about half an hour for questions and answers. So let's begin. So the first thing we need to do, we need to talk about the purposes of AP exams, because I think there's lots of confusions on the parents' parts in terms of, what does it mean what's the difference between AP and SAT? Should I take an SAP or not? So the purpose of the AP exam, as you can see, I'm not going to read it back, is for a student to demonstrate proficiency in a particular subject. Okay, so that's the whole purpose of the AP exams. Now, you need to remember that IMSA courses are not designed to follow advanced placement syllabi, with the exception of BC Calculus and AB Calculus. The rest of our coursework does not follow the AP curriculum. And furthermore, AP exams are not taken into account by domestic, and I mean U.S., colleges and universities when our students apply to colleges and universities in the United States of America. So the purpose of AP exams is to demonstrate proficiency once they get there. So the classical case scenario of having a score, a 5 or 4 on the AP exam, is when a student, let's say, matriculates in the fall of students' freshman year, let's say, to University of Urbana-Champaign, and rather than to be in, pre-calculus or calculus course or chemistry 101 or biology 101, if a student brings AP exam results in those subjects, student can skip an introductory level course. That's the whole purpose of AP exams. And once again, AP exams are not viewed as a part of the admission file for domestic colleges and universities. Now, different case scenario. So if you have a student who's absolutely certain that your student will be applying to a university abroad, let's say in England, Scotland, or Canada, or any other English-speaking country, then having as many AP exams as possible that was desired by those universities. And in fact, let's say Oxford University, for many of their majors, require a minimum number of AP exams that a student needs to take. But for domestic college admission, AP exams are not taken into consideration. This is really important to remember. Now, the other thing that you need to remember, you need to consider, are three things. So as a student, we ask all of our students to ask themselves, am I academically prepared for an AP exam? Remember, AP exam is an exam that demonstrates your complete and full proficiency. So clearly, it makes sense to take an AP exam at the end of completing a particular sequence or a particular coursework, not taking it as a sophomore, junior, and senior. Let's say English. Let's use English as an example. So a typical student who takes an AP English or AP Literature would be a senior, because senior just is completing the coursework in those two disciplines, and clearly that senior student is well prepared, but not a sophomore student or a junior student. When we get to the slide, a very detailed slide about which AP exams our students are prepared to take, then you will see it for yourself. Now, the AP exam dates come to us from the College Board, and they're not negotiable. And the dates are posted on the College Board. They are posted in all of the information that we give to our parents before they register for the AP exams, and we cannot move those AP exam dates. So a date is a date is a date. So if you know for a fact that on that particular date you will be traveling, let's just pretend for a second, with your family to some kind of a family event, and you have to be gone from school, we may not reschedule your AP exam. College Board does not allow for that kind of accommodation. And then finally, you need to think about a future. So AP exams are pretty expensive, as you know, because some of you are already registered, and some of you already even brought, some of the students even brought their payments into our office. So what's unfortunate situation is, let's say, for our seniors. So College Board wants us to collect money for all AP examinations in February, but only on April 1, a student will know whether or not student will be attending a particular college or university. But if your student knows now, so Caltech is, for instance, one of those examples. So Caltech does not take a single AP exam. So it is unfortunate, like I said. So if, let's say, if you're going to pay for 4 AP exams, only to find out that your student is admitted on April 1 to Caltech and attending Caltech, unfortunately, there are no refunds because I have to purchase those exams by the end of February. University of Chicago, many of our students already know that they were admitted to University of Chicago, and this is the school they will attend. I don't believe University of Chicago takes AP in English. So really, truly need to check. There's a website on the slide that you can log on and see AP requirements for every single institution. Okay, here we go. This is the next 2 slides are going to be probably the most important slides of tonight. As always, I will post this webinar on the CAC website tomorrow. I will send you an email about that, so this way you don't have to memorize anything. So an IMSA student is well prepared for AP Chemistry after completing 2 semesters advanced chemistry sequence. So IMSA student is well prepared for AP Physics C Mechanics. There are 2 AP Physics exams after completing calculus-based mechanics and self-studying. Remember, I mentioned that IMSA exams, IMSA coursework doesn't necessarily prepare fully students for taking AP examinations. So electricity and magnetism, again, student needs to complete calc-based electricity and magnetism and then self-study as well a little bit. AP Physics 1, AP Physics 2, now AP Biology. So AP Biology is based on the physiology and disease content and molecular and cellular biology. So a student needs to have both of them. That student usually is a junior student. So first semester will be PAD, second semester MCB, or vice versa. And by completing those 2 courses, a student will be well prepared for AP Bio. Here's the second slide. So as you can see, BC Calc, we have AB Calc, we have Statistics, we have AP Computer Science A. So after completing OOP, not just simply completing Computer Science Inquiries, a sophomore required course. And I already mentioned before, English language or English literature, seniors take only, and it's per their discretion. So somebody likes language better than literature, so students we usually have even number of students who take that, about 20 students take each exam. And French, Spanish, and Chinese language students take those 2 exams after completing the highest level IMSA offers. And then we do offer a course in U.S. Government and Constitution, and that course prepares students for AP U.S. Government and Politics. So like I said, those 2 slides are really important for our tonight's discussion. Now let's talk a little bit about the logistics of the AP registration process. There are no prerequisites. So IMSA students, there are no prerequisites on the IMSA part. There are no prerequisites on the College Board part. In essence, an IMSA student can sign up for as many or all or to the student's liking. We are not going to turn anybody away. So we are not going to tell our students that they're not prepared, because clearly students looked at the content and know what the AP exam entails. However, due to the limited testing facilities and the fact that during AP administration weeks, and those are the 2 weeks in May, we still hold regular classes at IMSA, we require a minimum of 10 students to request a particular AP exam for that AP exam to be delivered. So right now we're collecting information. So right now all the students are registering using total registration system. It's an online system that allows students to pick exams, register for exams, but then students need to bring a payment to the CAC office. Well, anyway, so when total registration, when that is done, and our AP registration will be completed on February 19th. So you have exactly 1 more week to register, and the payments will be due by Friday, February 22nd. That will be the last time for you to submit a payment, but the registration will be closed by the total registration on February 19th, because they're the ones, it's the company that controls the website. We're going to count, well, they're going to count for us number of students registered for each exam, and we will not run exams where there are fewer than 10 students, with fewer than 10 students, and those students will receive full refunds. IMSA students and parents assume responsibility for AP exams. However, College Board does provide a reduced fee for AP exams, and all of that information is available. I think it's going to be our next slide, and it's going to be in the letter that is posted on Naviance Student. Yes, that's the letter I'm referring to. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, I would like for all of you to log on tonight onto Naviance Student, shared files. So there's a document resources link at the very, very bottom of the homepage, and then click on that link, document resources. There will be shared files, and in shared files you will find an AP letter about, this is the letter we're looking at, about the registration process, where we talk about the cost, and we talk about how much it costs for all students versus students who will receive fee waivers at IMSA, because like I said, College Board allows those students to take AP exams at the reduced cost. And also we talk about the fact that if fewer than 10 students sign up for a particular AP exam, those students will receive full refunds. Otherwise, students do not receive any refunds, because I have to purchase exams as soon as the registration is over. All right, this is actually our last slide. So like I said, our AP webinar is very, very short. It's the shortest webinar we offer. So to take or not to take? Absolutely, if a student is well prepared. And so again, tonight, tomorrow when I post the webinar, you can go back to the 2 slides to see whether or not your student is well prepared. Your student should not be signing up for AP exam if your student thinks it's going to help him or her with the admission process. It will only if your student will be applying to a college or university abroad, but not domestically. 90% of all U.S. high school students take exams in May of their senior year. They are admitted on April 1st of their senior year. So the AP exams always follow the admission process. So a student should definitely take an AP exam if a student knows that he or she will be attending a university that first of all accepts APs, but also a large state university, because this is where AP exams really come in handy, because then a student can skip an introductory level course and be placed in the more advanced level course. However, if a student already knows which college a student will be attending, then we strongly suggest that the student double checks the website for that particular school to make sure that a student does not sign up for an AP exam that institution that a student will be attending is not going to welcome, because it is $94 after all, which is very, very expensive. I am done talking. Jiyun is going to turn on the chat box right now, and I will read your questions, and we will reply. So let me see if there are any questions yet. Oh my goodness, lots of questions already. Here's the first question. Are AP exams scheduled during the school day? Yes, and that creates a problem for IMSA, because like I said, we do not cancel any classes. So a student clearly is excused from a class. However, student is not excused from making up the work or knowing the material. So student is excused to take an AP exam, but it is a student's responsibility to make sure that he or she catches up with what was missed. And yes, the AP exams are administered during regular school day. Can you please also give some understanding about the SAT subject test? Well, we did the webinar on standardized testing at the beginning, I think, of, well, it was in the fall. I don't remember exactly the month. The webinar is already posted, so you can refer to that webinar in the CAC on the IMSA CAC website. Now, the biggest difference between AP exams and SAT subject exams is SAT subject exams, some of them some colleges require students to take SAT subject tests. Not a single college requires students to take AP exams for college admission purpose. But they serve the same purpose, both exams, AP exams, and SAT subject tests. They demonstrate students' knowledge in a particular subject. So that's a similarity, but the purpose is different. Can our audience mute themselves? There was a background noise. Okay, that was actually from us. Okay. Can students make payments by credit card in the CAC office? Absolutely. So your question tells me that you did not read the letter that we asked you to read, which is placed in the document resources on audience student. Yes, there is a credit card form that we also placed in document resources and shared files. A student can print that form out, fill out the form, and bring it to our office. Absolutely, credit card payments are allowed. If 10 students are not registered, how does a student take an AP exam? Where do they go and when are we given notice? So if 10 students are not registered, let's just use let's use a really classic example, human geography. Human geography is an AP exam and we would always have some interest, 3 students or 4 students, but clearly we never run that exam. The reason why we collect money, we started administering AP registration via total registration because it's a much faster process rather than us counting and sorting through all the documents. So as soon as AP registration process closes on February 19th, we will notify students really quickly. I want to say by that following Thursday, February 21st or February 22nd, to let them know that the AP exams they register for will not run. At which point, a student has an option of contacting home school where the student came from. There is no guarantee that, first of all, home school will administer this particular exam, or the home school will allow a student from the outside, come and take it. Many schools do allow for that to happen, but then you might run into a situation where, let's say, your student's home school doesn't administer human geography also, so then your student is stuck. So then the answer is then your student cannot take an AP exam. But we strongly encourage parents and students to contact their home schools to see what's going on there. Okay, hold on a second. Let me see. I want to make sure. AP Physics C, Mechanics, and AP Physics C, Electricity, Magnetism. Yes, they're considered 2 AP exams. Yes, they're 2 AP exams. They're different AP exams. Yep. Can students take the exam more than once? Yes, a student can take an AP exam more than once. It is kind of a counterproductive because, like I said, a student should only take AP exam at the end of the coursework, so after completing the coursework. So let's pretend for a second. You have a junior who is right now in advanced chemistry first semester and second semester. Let's pretend for a second. Your student registered to take an AP exam. He's a junior or she's a junior. And let's just say she got a 2. Let's just pretend for a second or he got a 2. So you're thinking to yourself, okay, next year when you're going to be a senior, I want you to sign up for the same AP exam and take it. Well, guess what? Your student is not going to be in chemistry next year, especially in advanced chemistry, semester 1 or semester 2. If your student did poorly first time around, there's probably a high chance your student is not going to do as well. It's not going to do better the following year. Because remember, AP exam is based on the content. You need to be enrolled in class for you to know something. So, in theory, yes, a student can take retake as many AP exams as a student wants. In practice, there's not a single student without that. Does BC Calculus 1-2 is eligible for BC Calculus exam? Yes, but the recommendation is you should complete the sequence. So BC Calculus attempts are taught over the period of 3 semesters. So after completing 2 and 3, this is when a student is really ready for the BC Calculus exam. What's the difference between Calculus MB and Calculus BC? Different content, so slightly different mathematical content. But the sample exams are also available on the College Board, so a student can go on College Board and look. But like I said, actually the IMSA, there are only 2 classes at IMSA. They really truly are geared toward APs, and the classes are Calculus AB and Calculus BC. can you show the two most important slides one more time? The one with classes that should be taken. I will not, but I promise to you to post this webinar simply because I want to make sure that I answer as many questions as I can. But I will post this webinar tomorrow really early, like I want to say by probably 9 o'clock. And I will send an email right away to everybody so you'll be able to access this webinar immediately. Advice and strategy on taking AP exams, please. Any mock test available to have an idea on the score? Well, if a student is in doubt whether or not student is prepared for an AP exam, a student must talk to the teacher. So the teacher of the current subject. So for instance, if your student is interested in taking AP World History, I'm just making this up. So talking to your student's current history teacher is going to reveal it really quickly that the content of NC history courses does not prepare students for AP exams, with one exception. Remember, I said the AP U.S. Government and Constitution. That's the only one. So talking to a teacher is the first, your first resort. But also, if a student is enrolled in, let's say, calculus, then actually teachers make sure that they do practice AP exams during those classes. So during AB Calc and BC Calc, there's always time set aside to practice AP questions. So the coursework, so I cannot give you any tips aside from make sure that you talk to a teacher, make sure that you know that, let's say, for biology, you should complete PED and you should complete MCB, and not, let's say, evolution, biology, and ecology, biodiversity and ecology. So you also need to know the courses we need to complete, and teachers clearly know all of that. So please refer to your students or the current teachers. Study guides. Again, we're back with the same kind of around the circle. So there are no study guides because IMSA courses are not designed to prepare students for AP examinations. IMSA courses happens to be rigorous enough that a student is prepared, and I gave examples of physics, the calculus-based physics, both semesters, let's say statistics, but there's no study guide. The student just simply needs to finish that coursework. So if your student has never been enrolled in statistics, here's a good example. Your student should not be signing up for AP Stats because your student doesn't know anything, and it's impossible to self-study for AP exams. They're really way too complicated. How much do AP exams cost? Now, this question alarms me a little bit because we send an information about AP examinations and the registration on February 4th, which was already a week and a half ago, which means the letter that is posted in shared files in document library and Navian student, clearly you didn't have access to that. So I really strongly encourage you to open that letter to make sure that you read all the examination fees for regular students, and then for students who are on the free and reduced lunch program. So I strongly encourage everybody to make sure that you read the letter posted for you to see how much it costs and whether or not you are on the fee waiver or not. Okay, if students do well in AP exams, will this add any benefit to their college admission? Can a student submit their AP scores in the college admission supplemental materials? So there are two parts to that question. So if your student has AP exam results, yes, your student can add those AP exam results to the application. Most likely it's not going to make any difference, like I said, simply because in the United States of America, 99% of students take AP exams after they've been already admitted. So college cannot give more pluses to some students and take away from the others. So while it's possible to post your scores, they will not make a difference in the college admission world for domestic colleges and universities, but not for abroad. Can any students take AP psychology and psychology? Yes, like I said, so we do not have any prerequisites. And I gave an example of human geography. You have some students who register for human geography every single year. AP psychology, actually, we offer once in a while because we have more than 10 students who are interested in, and then students study for that particular test. Yes, a student can sign up for any test. we will never turn away a student simply because we don't offer a particular course. Also, does a bad score impact student prospect compared to not taking the test? Well, it depends. So, first of all, a college will never see your student score unless you pay College Board to release that score. So if your student took an AP exam and got a 2, let's pretend for a second, you simply will never release it. So no harm done. You're just going to lose the money you spend on AP registration. So in that sense, and by the way, so the AP registration, I don't know if I mentioned, so the $94 is for the regular AP administration, which is very, very expensive. So AP exams students cannot be penalized for low scores because a student will never release that exam, that score. Okay, hold on a second. Is it applicable for a student to take AB Calculus AB after he finishes Calculus BC2 from IMSA? That would be counterproductive. So a student should not take AB Calculus because a student, oh, sorry, I apologize. We have an announcement. I apologize.
Design, and all you need to know about what you can do to sign up for our classes and learn all about SolidWorks, the industry standard CAD software. See you there.
Sorry, we just have some announcements that here were broadcasted. So the student who's finishing BC2 should not sign up for Calculus AB because as soon as the student is done next year with BC3, student is going to take BC AP and BC Calculus, and so the AP BC Calculus will be higher than, well, will be, you know, more involved. So if your student score on the BC Calc exam, that's what should count for placement in college. So students should not sign up for the AB Calc. Okay, if the student takes the exam and does not well for some reason, there is still no harm because there is no scoring considered. Yes. So again, so just as I already mentioned, yes, if a student takes an exam, gets a 2 or a 1, and the student never releases that score to colleges, and so there's really no harm done, except you're gonna be out of $94. Does College Board award the students who scores? Does College Board award the student who scores less than 4 with few courses? Does the word mean something for college application? I don't understand the question. So I don't understand. Maybe ask me again, so then I will try to answer it. So is the question, if a student scored 3, will a college take the score of 3? Well, it depends on the college. That's why it's really important to go to the college and see whether or not they only take 4s and 5s, or if they also take 3s. So it completely depends on the college. My student has already AP Human Geography and received 5. Why can't just use this for IMSA Social Studies? Well, IMSA does not, this question is not for me. This question probably will be to the Board of Trustees. So IMSA does not allow for any coursework completed outside of IMSA to count towards graduation. That's a simple answer. An IMSA student typically takes how many AP exams in 3 years? Do freshmen take AP? Well, first of all, we don't have freshmen. We only have sophomores, juniors, and seniors. There's really, I want to say, a typical IMSA student graduates from IMSA, and that student typically took 3 APs, an average IMSA student. That would be chemistry, that would be probably our most popular science exam, calculus, and English. So that's probably would be given for any senior who's graduating from IMSA. How does IMSA help with the gap between AP curriculum and IMSA curriculum so students are not studying? Well, IMSA does not help with the gap because IMSA doesn't care about the gap. Students come to IMSA to take courses that are rigorous, not AP driven. So if that was your goal, then probably your local high school serves you better. So IMSA does not fill in the gaps because IMSA doesn't care about the gaps. IMSA courses are not AP driven, and IMSA doesn't want to align them to be AP driven. You said BC Calc follows AP course, other subjects don't. What exactly does it mean? What's the advantage if a school follows AP course? So the name of 2 courses that we teach, that we offer, BC Calculus and AB Calculus, they are proprietary names, so they're owned by College Board. And so when a school offers courses with that title, that means a school needs to adhere to an AP curriculum. So that's what it means. So IMSA courses are broader, because in the regular high school, let's say a calculus is just a one-year course, right? In our case, it's a three-semester course for BC Calc and two-semester course for AB Calc, but they're two different courses. I mean, it's the same course except much more improved. So IMSA, BC Calc, and AB Calc courses are bigger, are broader, are more rigorous than, let's say, AP, AB Calc, and Western or High. I'm just making this comparison. So hopefully, so there's no other course that follows AP curriculum because there's no other course that has that proprietary name. Can a student take AB Calculus exam if they're taking BC Calculus? I already answered that question. Not a single student does because it defeats the purpose. Because a student who takes BC Calculus will take BC Calculus exam. For AP scholars, AP Physics considered as two. Yes, they're considered as two exams. If 90% students in US take AP exams and my student doesn't take it, no. Sorry, that's not what I meant to say. I apologize. Well, first of all, I already spoke about it. So AP exams are not considered for college admission purposes. I want to stress this again and again and again. So the second thing I said, not 90% of U.S. students. 90% of all students who take AP exams take them during senior year in United States of America, but does not mean that 90% of our students take AP exams. 90% of those who take AP exams take them during senior year, and the students are admitted to colleges during April. AP exam is in May, so therefore AP exam results are not factored into college admission decision. Many students take AP exams throughout each year of high school. My daughter has taken AP classes all for years. Okay, so I already said it several times. Let me say it one more time. Maybe I should. I don't even know how I can be clearer, but let me try again. The results of AP examinations are not factored into admission criteria. They're not part of it. The only exams that colleges care about are SATs, SAT subjects, and ACTs, accordingly. So if a college requires SAT subject, then a student needs to take SAT subject exams. Students also need to take either ACT or SAT. But not a single college requires students to take AP examinations. Not a single one. Is junior year a good time? Well, there is no such a thing as a good time. So please review the slides for today's webinar. A student needs to take an AP exam when a student is prepared for that exam, after a student finished a particular sequence of classes. So this is only when, or a particular class, this is only when a student needs to take it. Does honor biology from previous school, advanced biological system, no. To prepare for the biology AP exam, a student needs to finish physiology and disease and molecular and cellular biology. Those two classes prepare IMSA students for AP exam. Does the College Board award higher score for students, award higher score above for students with AP exam? I don't understand. So College Board designates students as scholars. Students who complete several AP exams and they get a score of 3 or above. And the designations vary from AP Scholar with distinction, AP Scholar with honors, and College Board does that. However, the title doesn't necessarily do anything for college admission purpose in the United States of America. However, if your student knows for a fact your student will be applying to college in England, let's pretend, then your student needs to take lots of AP exams because colleges and universities abroad require U.S. students to submit as many exams as possible. That includes APs, includes all the subjects, SAT subjects, includes ACTs and ACTs. Can you please repeat the date? We will know if the selected AP exams will be offered. So it's a good question. I gave an estimate. I don't know the date for sure, but I will do my best. I promise to you, I pledge to you to do my best As soon as the AP registration closes on February 19th, we will try to send out email by Thursday or Friday, February 22nd, to all students who registered for a particular exam that we will not offer because fewer than 10 students registered. I will do my best to send that email by Thursday or Friday. It looks like we are all done with our questions. Thank you very, very much for your participation. I will post the webinar tomorrow morning. We'll send an email quickly right away, so then you will be able to look at every single slide